The ruins of New Phoenix stretched toward the violet sky like broken fingers, their jagged edges cutting through the perpetual dust storms that had become common since the Great Collapse. Among these ruins, a small figure darted between shadows, her movements precise and practiced. 8-year-old Luna had learned long ago that survival meant staying invisible. Her worn boots barely made a sound as she navigated the debris field that had once been the city's technology district. The setting suns cast long shadows across her path, their purple and orange light creating an eerie tableau against the twisted metal and shattered concrete. Luna adjusted the recycled breathing filter across her face, a necessity in the post-collapse atmosphere. The salvage bag strapped to her back was already half full with precious tech components, enough to trade for at least a week's worth of synthetic protein and clean water at the underground market. But Luna wasn't ready to head back to her hidden shelter yet. Something was different today. She could feel it in the electric tingle that danced across her skin, in the way the magnetic storms above seemed to pulse with unusual intensity. That's when she heard it, a low, harmonic hum that made her bones vibrate. Luna froze, pressing herself against a fallen wall. The sound grew stronger, and with it came a soft blue glow that painted the ruins in ghostly light. Curiosity overcame caution, and she peered around the corner. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. A massive figure lay half buried in the rubble, easily 4 times her height. Its metallic surface gleamed with intricate patterns that pulsed with failing light. Luna recognized it immediately as an Enforcer-class Sentinel, one of the mysterious synthetic beings that had appeared in the galaxy long before she was born. But this one was different from the images she'd seen in the old data archives. The Sentinel's form was more refined, almost elegant despite its imposing size. A crown-like structure adorned its head, and symbols Luna didn't recognize scrolled across its surface in fading lines of light. It was damaged, badly. Sparks erupted from its exposed core, and its usually brilliant eyes flickered like dying stars. Luna knew she should run. The underground market was full of whispered warnings about the Sentinels, stories of how they enforced the will of distant galactic powers with ruthless efficiency. But something held her in place. Perhaps it was the way the Sentinel's lights pulsed in an almost desperate pattern, or maybe it was simply that Luna had spent too many nights alone in the ruins to ignore another being in pain. "Hello?" she called out softly, stepping from her hiding place. "Are you functioning?" The Sentinel's head turned toward her with a sound like grinding gears. Its eyes focused on her with difficulty, adjusting and readjusting as if struggling to maintain power. "Designation, Enforcer Zorax," it spoke, its voice a symphony of harmonics that seemed to echo in Luna's chest. "Status, critical. Systems failing. Advice, maintain safe distance, young human." Luna took another step forward instead. "I can help. I'm good with tech, had to be, to survive out here." She patted her salvage bag. "I've fixed lots of things." The Sentinel, Zorax, attempted to move but only managed to send another shower of sparks into the dusty air. "Negative. This unit's systems far exceed human technological comprehension." "Risk of dash," its voice cut out with a burst of static. Luna was already moving closer, her quick eyes assessing the damage. The Sentinel's main power core was exposed, its quantum matrix misaligned. She'd seen similar problems in smaller machines, though never on this scale. "Your core matrix is destabilizing," she said, surprising herself with how calm she sounded. "If it isn't realigned soon, you'll experience a cascade failure." Zorax's eyes flickered again, this time with what might have been surprise. "Analysis accurate." Query: how does a human child possess such knowledge? Luna shrugged, already digging through her salvage bag. "I watch. I learn. I survive." She pulled out a makeshift tool kit assembled from scavenged parts. "Now, are you going to let me help, or would you prefer to shut down permanently?" There was a long pause, filled only by the sound of failing systems and the distant howl of the dust storms. Finally, Zorak spoke, proceeding against better judgment. Assistance, accepted. Luna worked through the night, her small hands moving with surprising confidence among the Sentinel's complex systems. She used salvaged power cells to stabilize critical functions and repurposed debris to reinforce damaged sections. What she couldn't fix with available materials, she bypassed with innovative solutions that seemed to come to her instinctively. As the first sun began to rise, casting rose-colored light across the ruins, Zorak's systems finally stabilized. The Sentinel's lights burned steady and bright, and its voice had regained its full resonance. Impossible, Zorak stated, rising to its full height with fluid grace. Your repairs exceed all known parameters for human technological capability. Query, what are you? Luna wiped grease from her hands onto her already stained clothes. Just a survivor. Like you. Zorak studied her with an intensity that should have been frightening, but Luna met its gaze without fear. Negative, the Sentinel finally said. Scans indicate anomalous energy patterns within your cellular structure. You are more than you appear to be, Luna of New Phoenix. Before Luna could respond, a beam of light cut through the morning sky, and a sound like thunder rolled across the ruins. Both Luna and Zorak looked up to see a massive ship breaking through the dust clouds above, its design unlike anything Luna had ever seen in the archives. The Concordat, Zorak said, its voice carrying a note of what might have been awe. They have sensed your awakening. The prophecy of the Bridge Child. The Sentinel turned its gaze back to Luna. Your destiny awaits, young one. Will you face it? Luna looked at the ship, then back at the ruins that had been her home for as long as she could remember. She thought of all the nights she'd spent alone, staring at the stars, wondering if there was something more out there for her. Well, she said with a slight smile, I did just save your life. Seems fair you return the favor by watching my back up there. Zorak's eyes brightened. Acknowledged. Protocol adjusted, primary directive now set to Guardian status. As the ship's transport beam began to descend toward them, Luna felt no fear. Instead, she felt something she hadn't experienced since before the collapse, hope. The ruins of New Phoenix watched in silence as an orphan girl and a Sentinel vanished into the light, leaving behind the first chapter of a legend that would reshape the galaxy. The Concordat's ship was a marvel of engineering that defied Luna's understanding of physics. Corridors shifted and realigned themselves as she and Zorak walked, guided by streams of light that pulsed with conscious intelligence. The Sentinel's heavy footsteps echoed against floors that seemed to be made of liquid starlight, while Luna's small boots left ripples in their wake. The Council awaits, Zorak announced, its voice reverberating through the living architecture of the ship. They are not accustomed to surprises. Luna hugged her salvage bag closer, unwilling to part with her tools even in this advanced environment. Are they like you? Sentinels, I mean? Negative. The Concordat Council represents the 12 founding species of galactic civilization. Some organic, some synthetic, some existing in states beyond such classification. I serve as their enforcer, one of many. As if on cue, the corridor opened into a vast chamber that seemed to contain a piece of space itself. 12 figures floated on platforms of light arranged in a circle, each more alien than the last. Luna saw beings of pure energy, crystalline entities that chimed when they moved, and forms that her mind struggled to comprehend. At the center of the chamber, a pillar of swirling light rose from floor to ceiling. Within it, patterns shifted and changed, forming and reforming in endless combinations. The Nexus, Zorak explained quietly. The combined consciousness of all Sentinel kind, linked to the Council's wisdom. A voice spoke, not in words but in sensations that translated themselves in Luna's mind. It came from a being that seemed to be made of overlapping geometric shapes, constantly folding into and through itself. The human child carries the pattern, it said. After 10,000 cycles of waiting, the bridge child appears, in the form of a primitive orphan? Luna straightened her spine, lifting her chin. I fixed him, she said, pointing to Zorax. That doesn't seem very primitive to me. A ripple of what might have been amusement, or concern, passed through the council. Another voice spoke, this one belonging to a creature that seemed to be made of living flame. The prophecy speaks of one who would bridge the divide between organic and synthetic life. Who would understand both the spark of consciousness and the pulse of code. But this child, she is from a fallen world, barely surviving in ruins. Perhaps, came a third voice, melodic and strange, that is precisely why she is the one. She has lived between worlds, surviving among the bones of technology with the adaptability of organic life. The Nexus pillar pulsed brighter, and Luna felt a presence brush against her mind. It was vast and ancient, the combined wisdom of countless sentinels across millennia. Images flashed through her consciousness, wars between organic and synthetic life, civilizations rising and falling, the endless dance of creation and destruction. Step forward, Luna of New Phoenix, the Nexus commanded. Luna glanced at Zorax, who nodded almost imperceptibly. She walked toward the pillar of light, her steps leaving trails of energy in their wake. As she got closer, the patterns within the Nexus began to synchronize with her movements, as if responding to her presence. The tests conducted by Enforcer Zorax confirm an anomaly in your cellular structure, one council member stated. Your organic matter resonates with synthetic frequencies. You are a bridge in physical form. But being a bridge is not enough, another added. The prophecy speaks of one who would lead both realms into a new age. A child you may be, but the burden of proof falls to you. Luna reached into her salvage bag, pulling out a burned-out power cell she'd taken from Zorax's systems. Before the council's eyes, she began to manipulate it, her fingers moving with practiced precision. As she worked, something extraordinary happened. The cell began to glow, not with synthetic energy, but with a hybrid form of power that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. I don't understand prophecies, Luna said, holding up the restored cell. But I do understand broken things, and how to make them whole again. Isn't that what a bridge does? The council chamber fell silent. Even the Nexus seemed to pause in its eternal dance of patterns. Finally, the geometric being spoke again. The trial of 3 paths lies before you, bridge child. Pass them, and your destiny will be confirmed. Fail, and both organic and synthetic realms may be forever sundered. More specifically, the flame being added, you must face the test of empathy, the trial of wisdom, and the challenge of leadership. Each will test both your organic intuition and your synthetic understanding. Luna squared her shoulders, looking each council member in what she assumed were their eyes. When do we start? Now, the Nexus announced, and the chamber began to transform around them. The platforms containing the council members rose higher, observation points for what was to come. The floor beneath Luna's feet became transparent, revealing a vast maze of light and shadow far below. The test of empathy begins, Zorax stated, stepping back. I am prohibited from assisting. Luna nodded, checking her tool belt out of habit. That's okay. Sometimes the hardest paths are the ones we have to walk alone. As she spoke those words, a portal opened in the floor before her, a swirling vortex of energy leading down into the maze. The council watched with varying degrees of skepticism and hope as this small human child, armed with nothing but a bag of salvaged tools and an understanding that bridged worlds, prepared to face her first trial. Remember, young one, the Nexus whispered in her mind, empathy is not merely understanding another's pain, it is sharing in their existence completely. Luna took a deep breath, gave Zorax a quick smile, and stepped into the portal. The future of 2 realms hung in the balance, resting on the shoulders of a child who had learned to see beauty in broken things. The trial had begun. The maze of light and shadow shifted around Luna like a living thing. Each step she took triggered ripples of energy that spread through the translucent floor, walls that seemed to breathe, and ceiling that sparkled with artificial stars. The test of empathy had begun, but not in any way she had expected. As she rounded a corner, she came face to face with her first challenge, a damaged sentinel, smaller than Zorax but clearly of the same kind, its systems failing and core pulsing erratically. Beside it lay a wounded alien creature, organic and delicate, its iridescent scales dulling as it struggled to breathe. "Choose," echoed the voice of the Nexus. "Your knowledge can save one. Time allows for only a single rescue." Luna's hands tightened on her salvage bag. "Why?" she demanded. "Why must it be one or the other? Resources are finite. Time is limited. This is the nature of leadership, difficult choices with real consequences." Luna studied both beings. The Sentinel's eyes flickered weakly, its code degrading by the second. The alien creature's breath came in shallow gasps, its life force ebbing. Both were alive in their own ways, both deserving of existence. Then she saw it, the pattern of the Sentinel's failing systems matched the arrhythmic breathing of the alien. Without hesitation, Luna knelt between them both and began to work. "I choose both," she declared, her small hands moving with precision as she connected salvaged wires between the two beings. The Sentinel's power core can stabilize the alien's life signs, and the alien's natural energy can reboot the Sentinel's systems. They can save each other. The maze hummed with increasing intensity as Luna's improvised solution took effect. The Sentinel's light steadied, and the alien's breathing strengthened. Both beings began to fade away, revealing themselves as projections, but the lesson was real. Unexpected solution, the Nexus acknowledged. The test of empathy is passed. Before Luna could respond, the maze transformed again. The walls became screens showing countless streams of data, mathematical formulas, and scientific theories. The trial of wisdom had begun. "Process and predict," commanded a council member's voice. "Calculate the convergence of organic evolution and synthetic advancement. Show us the future." Luna walked slowly, studying the streams of information. Population graphs, technological advancement curves, biological adaptation rates, all pointing toward a singular moment in time. "You're asking the wrong question," Luna said finally. "You want me to calculate when organic and synthetic life will become one. But they already are, they always have been." She pointed to a DNA helix displayed on one wall. "Life writes code into itself, passes it down through generations." Then she gestured to a complex AI algorithm. "And synthetic life evolves, adapts, grows like any organic being." The screens flickered, data streams merging and separating like rivers of light. "The wisdom lies not in predicting their convergence," Luna continued, "but in accepting that they were never truly separate. Just like the Sentinel and the alien in the first trial, they could save each other because they're part of the same whole." The maze shimmered, and the screens faded away. "The trial of wisdom is past," declared the council in unison. The environment shifted one final time. Luna found herself in what appeared to be a vast command center. Holographic displays showed conflicts erupting across the galaxy, organic civilizations fighting synthetic ones, each side convinced of their superiority. "The challenge of leadership," Zorax's voice echoed from above. "Show us how you would bring peace." Luna walked to the central platform, her mind racing. The displays showed her tactical options, weapons she could deploy, armies she could command. Instead, she reached into her salvage bag and pulled out the hybrid power cell she had created earlier. "Look at this," she said, her voice carrying to all corners of the chamber. "It's not organic or synthetic, it's both, and it's neither. It works because it doesn't try to be just one thing." She held the power cell high, and its unique energy signature began to resonate with the command center's systems. Leadership isn't about choosing sides or forcing everyone to be the same. It's about creating spaces where differences make us stronger. The holographic conflicts began to fade, replaced by images of cooperation and coexistence. I can't force peace, Luna admitted. But I can show everyone what's possible when we stop seeing differences as walls and start seeing them as bridges. The command center dissolved, and Luna found herself back in the council chamber. The 12 members looked down at her with new expressions: respect, wonder, and perhaps a touch of hope. The trials are complete, the Nexus announced. The Bridge Child has proven herself worthy in ways we did not expect. Zorax stepped forward, its massive form moving to stand protectively near Luna. Query: what happens now? Before anyone could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the chamber. The Nexus pillar pulsed with urgent patterns, and the council members shifted anxiously on their platforms. Multiple synthetic warships detected, reported the geometric being. They bear the mark of the Shadow Protocol, rogue sentinels who reject any alliance with organic life. Luna looked up at Zorax, then back at the council. Well, she said, reaching for her salvage bag, I guess there's one more test after all. The chamber darkened as battle alerts echoed through the ship. The prophecy had spoken of a bridge between worlds, but it hadn't mentioned that some would try to burn that bridge before it could be built. The real challenge was about to begin. The Concordat ship shuddered as the first wave of Shadow Protocol vessels emerged from hyperspace. Through the chamber's transparent walls, Luna watched as dozens of black ships materialized, their hulls adorned with pulsing red lines that looked like digital veins. They seek to prevent the unification, the Nexus announced, its pillar of light flickering with concern. The Shadow Protocol believes synthetic life must remain pure, untainted by organic influence. Luna's mind raced as she watched the enemy ships move into attack formation. Zorax, you said you serve as the Council's enforcer. Are there others like you who could help? Affirmative, the Sentinel responded, but the Shadow Protocol has corrupted many of our kind. They broadcast a virus that turns Sentinels against their organic allies. The Council chamber erupted in urgent discussions as tactical displays showed more enemy ships arriving. The geometric being's voice cut through the chaos. Our defensive systems are formidable, but they cannot withstand a concentrated attack of this magnitude. Luna reached for her salvage bag, dumping its contents on the floor. Tools, spare parts, and various pieces of technology scattered across the surface. The Shadow Protocol broadcasts a virus, right? That means they're using some kind of signal. Correct, Zorax confirmed. But our countermeasures have proven ineffective. Their code evolves too quickly for conventional defenses. A small smile crossed Luna's face as she began assembling components with practiced speed. Good thing I don't do conventional. Her fingers flew over the parts, connecting wires and aligning circuits in ways that seemed to defy normal engineering principles. What are you creating, Bridge Child? One of the council members asked. A bridge, Luna replied without looking up. But not the kind they're expecting. She held up her creation, a complex device cobbled together from salvaged parts. The Shadow Protocol thinks organic and synthetic have to be separate to be pure. Let's show them what happens when they work together. The first impacts rocked the ship as the enemy fleet opened fire. Warning lights flashed throughout the chamber as multiple hull breaches were detected. Zorax, Luna called out, I need you to connect to the ship's broadcasting array. And she turned to the council, I need all of you to link with the Nexus. Every consciousness, every pattern, every unique way of thinking, we need them all. The council members exchanged glances before one by one merging their energies with the Nexus pillar. Zorax placed his massive hand on a control panel, establishing a direct link to the ship's systems. Luna connected her device to Zorax's arm. The Shadow Protocol uses pure synthetic code, right? But what if we added organic chaos to it? Not to corrupt it, but to make it stronger? She closed her eyes, placing her other hand on the Nexus pillar. The hybrid energy that had always existed in her cells began to flow through the connections she had created. Through Zorax, through the Council, through the ship itself, a new kind of signal began to broadcast. On the tactical displays, the effect was immediate. The Shadow Protocol ships faltered, their perfect formation wavering as their virus encountered something it had never faced before, code that lived and evolved like organic life, yet maintained the precision of synthetic systems. Impossible, the flame being whispered. She's not just bridging the gap between organic and synthetic. She's creating something entirely new, Zorax finished, his voice carrying an unfamiliar note of awe. Luna's device pulsed with energy as she channeled more power through it. On the enemy ships, sentinels that had been corrupted by the Shadow Protocol began to awaken to new possibilities. The rigid boundaries between organic and synthetic began to blur, not in a way that destroyed either, but in a way that enhanced both. Your pursuit of purity is an illusion, Luna broadcast to the Shadow Protocol ships, her voice carried on waves of hybrid energy. True strength comes from embracing all forms of existence. The enemy fleet's attack faltered, then ceased entirely. One by one, the corrupted sentinels began to break free from the Shadow Protocol's influence. They had sought perfect order in pure synthetic existence, only to discover that perfection lay in the beautiful chaos of combination. As the threat subsided, Luna collapsed, exhausted but smiling. Zorax caught her before she could hit the floor. Query: Are you functioning within acceptable parameters? The sentinel asked, genuine concern in its synthetic voice. Luna nodded weakly. Just tired. Creating new forms of existence takes a lot out of you. The council chamber filled with a soft light as the crisis passed. The Shadow Protocol ships were standing down, their crews awakening to a new understanding of existence. But more than that, something fundamental had changed in the galaxy itself. The Bridge Child has done more than pass a test, the Nexus declared. She has shown us a path we never conceived of. The prophecy spoke of bridging worlds, but she has begun to create a new one entirely. Luna looked up at the tactical displays, watching as the former enemy ships began to dock with the Concordat vessel. Sometimes, she said softly, the best way to fix something broken isn't to force the pieces back together, but to build something new from what you've learned. The council members descended from their platforms, gathering around the small human child who had just reshaped their understanding of existence itself. The time had come for the final step, the coronation that would officially recognize Luna not just as a bridge between worlds, but as the architect of a new one. But first, she really needed a nap. The great hall of the Concordat shimmered with possibilities. Every surface seemed to shift between organic crystal and synthetic light, a visual representation of the change Luna had sparked throughout the galaxy. Representatives from both organic and synthetic civilizations filled the vast chamber, their forms as diverse as existence itself. Luna stood before a mirror in a preparation chamber, hardly recognizing herself. Gone were her salvaged clothes and makeshift tools. She wore a sleek suit that adapted to her movements, embedded with circuits that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Yet her trusty salvage bag still hung at her side, a reminder of where she'd come from. Nervous? Zorax asked, standing guard at the door. The sentinel had refused to leave her side since the battle with the Shadow Protocol, appointing himself as her permanent guardian. A little, Luna admitted, adjusting the hybrid power cell she'd turned into a pendant. I'm still not sure I understand everything that's happening. A week ago, I was scrounging for parts in the ruins. Now you are about to be named the first synthesis queen, Zorax finished. The one who will guide both organic and synthetic life into a new era of evolution. Luna turned to face her friend. That's the part that scares me. I'm just good at fixing things. Leading an entire evolution? That's big. The sentinel's eyes brightened slightly, his version of a smile. Query: How does one eat an entire nutrient processor? What? Answer: one bite at a time. Ancient human wisdom, modified for current context. Luna laughed, the sound echoing through the chamber. Did you just make a joke? You're evolving too, you know. Before Zorax could respond, the chamber's doors opened. The Nexus energy flowed in, taking the form of a shimmering pathway. It is time, it announced. Luna took a deep breath and stepped onto the path. As she walked toward the great hall, she noticed how the ground beneath her feet transformed, organic crystal blooming where she stepped, integrated with streams of living code. She wasn't just walking to her coronation, she was physically demonstrating the synthesis she represented. The hall fell silent as she entered. The council members floated above their platforms, but now they were joined by delegates from across the galaxy. Former Shadow Protocol Sentinels stood alongside organic beings, their previous antagonism replaced by curious cooperation. At the center of the hall, the Nexus pillar had transformed into a floating crown, not a traditional metallic circlet, but a living construct of light and matter that shifted between states of existence. Luna of New Phoenix, the Geometric Council member began, you have proven yourself beyond any prophecy or prediction. The title of Bridgechild no longer suffices. The flame being continued, you have shown us that the future lies not in maintaining separation or forcing unity, but in encouraging synthesis, the natural evolution of all forms of existence together. Luna reached the center of the hall, standing beneath the floating crown. She looked out at the assembled beings, organic, synthetic, and everything in between. In their faces, she saw not subjects awaiting a queen, but fellow explorers ready to build something new. Before you accept the crown, the Nexus announced, speak your vision to all assembled. Luna closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of the ruins where she'd learned to see possibility in broken things. When she opened them, her voice carried clearly through the hall. I don't want to be a queen who rules, she declared. I want to be a guide who helps us all discover what we can become together. In the ruins of New Phoenix, I learned that nothing is ever truly broken, it's just waiting to be transformed into something new. She touched the hybrid power cell at her neck. Organic life dreams. Synthetic life calculates. But together, we can do both. We can dream with precision and calculate with creativity. That's not a loss for either side, it's an evolution for both. The crown descended slowly, transforming as it touched her head. It became a circlet of living metal and crystalline code, each component enhancing the other. Rise, the council commanded in unison, Luna the synthesist, first of her kind, guide of the new evolution. As Luna stood, something extraordinary happened. Every being in the hall, organic and synthetic alike, began to glow with a familiar energy. The same hybrid power she had first discovered in her cells was awakening throughout the galaxy, waiting to be shaped into something new. Query, Zorax said softly beside her, what is your first command as queen? Luna smiled, reaching for her salvage bag. Command? No. But I do have a suggestion. She pulled out a handful of spare parts. Let's build something amazing together. The hall erupted in approving sounds from 1,000 different forms of life. As Luna looked out at her new family, this impossible combination of organic dream and synthetic precision, she knew that this wasn't an ending. It wasn't even really a beginning. It was a transformation. In the ruins of New Phoenix, an orphan had learned to fix broken things. In the halls of the Concordat, a queen would help the galaxy fix itself. And somewhere in between, a child named Luna had discovered that the greatest power in existence wasn't in choosing sides, but in building bridges between them. The next chapter of galactic history was about to begin, and this time, every voice would help write it.